The first VB beer was brewed in 1854 and it was the start of one of the biggest companies Australia's ever produced. Now, like many other iconic businesses, Foster's is about to go offshore. Its board has endorsed a $12.3 billion takeover by the foreign brewing giant SABMiller. The federal government says it'll approve the deal if it's in the national interest. Mary Gearan reports.
You ought to get yourself a new case, mate. Won't fit many tinnies in there.
They've sold our soul. It's not good enough.
You can get it sliding.
Actually, that's where I keep my briefs.
They're selling out Australia.
Truth. Trial must be going on longer than I thought. It's my business, yeah.
You can get it walking. You can get it talking. You can get it working a plough.
And now you can get it for $12.3 billion. After refusing an offer in June, the Foster's board is recommending this latest shout from Anglo-South African brewing giant SABMiller.
It's a sad day for Australia. Our foreign ownership record gets even worse from a very bad level already.
But the glass is half full for shareholders who stand to reap $5.53 a share in what's been a declining beer market.
The opportunity is for those beers to travel the world more effectively now, and the opportunity for our people to have terrific international careers. This is a great opportunity for our company and our future employees.
As news filtered through Foster's 2,300 workers, the union in Melbourne called for the preservation of the landmark Abbotsford Brewery on the banks of the Yarra that's been in operation since 1904.
It's critical both in terms of beer production, but it's also critical culturally. Australians expect brands like Victoria Bitter to be made in Victoria.
Foster's was originally one of 6 Melbourne breweries that joined to become Carlton United Breweries in 1907. To beer historians like Michael Bannenberg, it's not only been an iconic brand, but revolutionary.
It was the first lager beer, which is bottom fermented beer, produced with ice and delivered cold to the public in 1888. And that changed the whole dynamic of a beer in Australia. That's almost as significant as what's happened today, in that we've lost an Australian icon.
But the greatest loss may well be Australian corporate independence, on a slippery slope in an increasingly globalised world.
Australia has a woeful record when it comes to foreign investment. There aren't even 70 Australian companies that generate more than $200 million a year in revenue offshore, and now there's one less with Foster's disappearing, and there just aren't enough successful Australian international companies. And that's one of the sad things about the performance of corporate Australia.
Excuse me, mate. Mind if I borrow some of your bait?
So how did it come to this? After all, in its heyday, the company was set to Fosterise the world on the wave of one of the most successful ad campaigns of all time.
You can get it any old now.
Matter of fact, I got it now.
A magnificent beer business in Australia, well managed in Australia, great cash flows, great distribution, great brands. And for years, the management have used that cash to stuff things up in wine, starting a finance company, going offshore. They've lost between 5 and 10 billion, squandering the magnificent cash thrown off by a majority position in the Australian beer market.
As an advertising agency art director in the 80s, Michael Bannenberg also designed some of the CUB campaigns. He believes that when Foster's sold its network of pubs in the last decade, the end was nigh.
They sold that so they don't have a distribution network. Then they've painted in a corner and they actually have to comply to the market. What the market dictates, they have to do.
The man at the helm in the 80s, meanwhile, has no sympathy for the company's position.
They mucked up the wine business and paid too much, so I don't feel sorry for the board. I think they've done a lamentable job and the management haven't been much better.
Doesn't get any better than this.
If this deal goes through, about 90% of the Australian market will be foreign-owned through Foster's and Lion Nathan. Now, eyes are turning to the last Australians left at the bar, the explosion of microbreweries, and Cooper's, now set to be the biggest Australian-owned brewer with about 4% of the market. It withstood its own takeover bid by Lion Nathan 6 years ago and vowed today to keep its independence. But while this deal could provide marketing opportunities for dinky-die breweries, it may not yield a bonanza.
I do think that Coopers and the other microbreweries will be a beneficiary from this perceived concern about foreign domination of beer in a country like Australia. But because the big brewers dominate distribution, it is still quite difficult logistically to break into the market. And you've also got the problem of the absolute dominance of Woolworths in liquor, like no other country in the world. And even SABMiller will find that difficult because Foster's and Woolies have been at war for the last few months.
I think if you talk to me in 3 or 4 months' time, it won't make any difference. I think most of the drinkers have made up their minds of what they want to drink.
Mary Gearan reporting.